Hello and welcome back to the Not the Old Firm YouTube channel. My name is Ben Banks, still stuck in Northern Ireland as we record this ahead of the weekend's matches. Trying to still catch my breath after Mullow v Coleraine last night. Aberdeen doing well in Europe, and we'll look ahead to the Premiership action as well. Did you watch any European football last night, James?
I watched lots of European football last night, Ben. First I seen the Rangers game first, and then I watched most of the Motherwell game.
Stephen Robinson speaking after the game was relieved to get through, but I mean, job done in the end for Mullow.
We said winning anyway, we possibly could. You know, 2-0 up, we're very, very comfortable. And I think you have to credit Coleraine as well, isn't that? The pitch is very classed as a football pitch, being honest, and I think Coleraine will agree with me. They deserve better than that for the players they've got, and the manager they've got, and the board they've got. So hopefully the council and people back them to get a proper pitch down. But they certainly played to it, and they made our life very, very difficult. There was nothing in it in the end, you know, it was pure spirit. I have to credit our lads as well. You know, we were down to 10 men with some, probably not saying what I want to say about the decisions, but we dug in, and you know, when we came to the fore, Trevor Carson came and saved us, and whatever way we look at it, we're in the next round of Europe, nobody will remember how. By the time Saturday, Sunday comes, nobody will remember how, but I certainly have to give credit to Coleraine, to their players, to their staff. Should be very, very proud of their performances tonight.
Oran Kearney was also speaking after the game. A big run for Coleraine in the Europa League, beat Maribor in the last round amazingly, given how strong Maribor have been in Europe in recent years. But Mullow on penalties, they were beaten. They came back from 2-0 down the first half. Mullow really dominant in that half before a penalty in the sort of first 10 minutes of the second half completely changed the game. Ben Doherty scoring from the spot, and Coleraine completely controlled the second half. Deservedly taking it to extra time, but Trevor Carson in the end saving Mullow's blushes, and Oran Kearney had plenty of praise for the Mullow goal.
Yeah, it probably is a range of feelings, and you know how it ends up in relation to you know, at half time we looked out of it, but we were on the ropes, and you have to pay big credit to Mullow. They came in and did what they should do. You know, they were that bit, the intensity was higher. We struggled to string a pass or two together. We struggled to lay a glove in simple terms. And to be honest, we were probably fortunate to win at 2-0. It was a helter-skelter first 10. Jarvis has dislocated his shoulder. He was off the pitch for a period of time. It wasn't just the ideal start from that point of view. And for all of that half, to be fair, they were very good. And for people probably that know us and how we play here, we're very much a second half side, and we use that small gradient and that tiny bit of the slope, and we use it well. And at half time it was probably quite harrowing in relation to the message. It was obviously that the next goal was vital in two ways, because the first way would be that if Motherwell to strike and get the third, to absolutely tune in and not turn it into where we were a couple of years ago and pick up a 4 or 5 or a 6. But rather than that, the stronger mentality was, let's hang in this, let's make sure that if a goal does come, we wait to 60, 70, but just stay in the game. There's a bit of history with them this season in relation to where they've been, and if we can lay a blow, you know, it possibly can start to turn for us. And I think when you bring Skinner on, he's very effective at what he does. We altered it obviously in the way that we played it, but I think we caused them multiple problems, and probably deservedly got back into it with other chances. It looked like it might eke out, and then Skinner does really well for the penalty at the end. So from where you're at half time to then obviously that you're into extra time and everything that goes with it, and we go as far as penalties, for the joy that we had in the last round of the penalties, it wasn't to be tonight. I think a couple of saves in particular were outstanding. I think Parky's first one in particular was right in the corner, and it's a hell of a hand and a hell of a save. So listen, with the joint Maribor of penalties, and it's one that'll live long in the memory of all those guys. This one here for different reasons, but listen, that's sport and that's football, and you have to take the good times and enjoy those, but you also have to take ones like this on the chin and the what if or the possibilities of what could have happened.
Location change for James, and we're back after hearing from Stephen Robinson and Oran Kearney. I think to say squeaky bum time for Mullow is probably putting it lightly. So comfortable in that first half, and then what happened in the second is beyond me. It was probably in terms of an overall performance. I know Mullow scored 5 against Glentoran, but probably the strongest I've looked in terms of the overall package. And then the second half, my God, I think it was very nervy for the Mullow fans, and the few of the Mullow fans that were also over here in Coleraine. There was a fair few in the town and around about the area, but they're through at the end of the day. That's all that matters.
Yeah, it was one of these funny ones for me in that, I mean, when you seen Motherwell went 2-0 up, you kind of assumed that was it, it was game over, they were going to go through. But then, once they conceded, I think just see with Motherwell's domestic form just now, you immediately started going, is the bottle going to crash? And then when Coleraine equalised last night, I mean, you were sending me messages on Twitter, and it kind of summed up exactly what I was expecting from them. But they got the job done. Trevor Carson, 3 brilliant penalty stops.
Yeah, for everything he's been through as well, if you consider the fact he's been through his DBT stuff and then played number 2 to Gillespie last year, and he's came in and probably outside Alan Campbell being Mullow's best player this season. So fair play to him. I think it'd be fair to say that he won it for Mullow last night, because going to penalties, you'll need to correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure, I know I've never seen Mullow win a penalty shootout live, and I'm pretty sure the last time Mullow won a penalty shootout was in the 90s. So, I mean, good time to get it, and now they play Hapoel Beersheva next week. But looking at Aberdeen as well, which was much more comfortable for the Scottish team, beating Viking 2-0. I don't know if you've seen Ryan Hedges' goal.
Not seen that yet.
Straight from a corner, brilliant. Ross McCrory got the first one, Ryan Hedges with the second. Easy days for Aberdeen, and they play a Sporting team next who are completely depleted from coronavirus outbreak. So I think they're going to be missing 6 or 7 key men. Then if they got through that, Aberdeen, they're seeded for the playoff round. For me, I mean, there was ever a time for Aberdeen to get to the group stages, then this is the season, because they're in great form, and the way things have shaped up, they've probably got an easier route than what they might have hoped for.
Oh, absolutely. I think kind of the way the draws fell for them, it's all right. They're going to need to get past Sporting first of all, which is going to be a big task, coronavirus or not. But with them now having this kind of perky being seeded in the playoff round, it is probably going to be their best chance to reach the group stages. Since when was it last time they got to the groups? Like
They were the last team outside of Glasgow to reach the group stages 13 years ago. So
and that was what they had Bayern and whatnot. So it's been a good while for them. I'll be interested to see who Motherwell can get.
Yeah, I think we're recording this before the draw. The draw is at
1
PM. We record this in the morning. I'm pretty sure Mullow's opposition are Basel, Besiktas and Victoria Pleasant, 3 teams that are no strangers to Champions League group stages in recent seasons. So I think Mullow are going to be up against Hapoel Beersheva. I mean, that Latchi team that Beersheva played pushed the Israeli team all the way, and I mean, you'd probably expect Mullow to beat Latchi if you compare the two sides of clubs. So if they were able to push them all the way, I mean, Latchi got to the 86th minute and were 1-0 up, and then get a man sent off, and Beersheva scored 2 in the final 3 minutes to go through. So they're definitely not world beaters, but Mullow will be probably underdogs for that one. Whereas Aberdeen, I know Sporting will probably still be favourites considering the depth they'll have in their team, but they've got a really good chance. The way Aberdeen are playing now is brilliant. It's the best they've played in a long, long time under Derek McInnes. So it'll be interesting to see.
One thing I would be interested to see, and I might be wrong on this, but I'd be curious to see the last time 2 non-old firm Scottish teams progress through at least a couple of rounds in Europe.
Yeah, I think Mullow have been at this stage before, but a lot of the time it was in the early 2010s where they just sort of there was a time when they were in the Champions League and they dropped into the third qualifying round. And there was also a time, I think, in 2010, 2011, if I'm not mistaken, where they did go on a bit of a longer run and they reached the sort of third qualifying round, beat off Steaua Bucharest, and they've also been in the playoffs against Odense in recent years. Again,
normally in those kind of situations, you normally have, like, say, like last year, you'll have had a Kilmarnock who went and then got beat by Connah's Key Nomads. We've not had that this year.
No, I mean, it definitely looked like that. It definitely looked Mullow could have been going that way, but I mean, they did, for as much as Mullow did make it very difficult for themselves, they managed to dig in with 10 men in extra time. Coleraine tired being the part-time team. I think you could tell that despite the fact Mullow had 10 men, Coleraine were just completely dead on their feet by the time extra time came, and that probably cost them a wee bit. in terms of getting the game over the line because they were the stronger team after the first half. But Aberdeen as well should mention some of their opponents. They could get Lask from, I think, Austria, is it?
Yep.
They played Man United in the Europa League and got to the knockout stages. So Rosenborg as well, a potential tie against Rijeka again. So even if Aberdeen do get to the playoffs seeded, then it's not like it's going to be a walk in the park. They're still going to be like proper underdogs. But you'd rather that than if you look at the seeding teams, you could get Copenhagen, PSV Eindhoven. So
it's all good for the coefficient, no, Ben. It's all good for the coefficient.
It is indeed, but we're going to look at the domestic action now. Look at Saturday's games first. Livingston travel to Celtic. Big talking point with Livingston this week, and that'll cover them for this week, is Anthony Stokes. He doesn't like artificial pitches. He's out of the door at the Tony Macaroni after 3 weeks.
But see, if I'm honest, that was a move that was destined to blow up in their face. And some people might want to disagree with me there, but remind me where Anthony Stokes was before he returned to Scottish football.
He's been abroad anyway. The one club that springs out to me is Tractor in Iran.
Does that not just say it all?
Well, aye. I don't know. I mean, it was once claimed that Anthony Stokes was better than Lyndon Dykes, but I mean, it just didn't work, did it? And it leaves Livingston as well looking for another striker. They definitely need one in the door. They've got a big Lyndon Dykes-sized hole up front. I think the new boy they've got up front, Lars Lacoste, has actually looked fairly decent in the first couple of games, but they need more than him. Looking ahead to Dundee United, St Mirren now. Really tough few days for Jim Goodwin's side, and we heard from him ahead of another game in the Scottish Premiership for the Buddies.
Big club, and they are a Premier League club. I think when you look at the stadium and the training facilities and the fan base, obviously, I think Mickey Mellon's a really good appointment. I came across Mickey many years ago when I was down in England, and I think he was at Blackpool or Tranmere. I can't remember, one of the two, but really good guy, good appetite for the game. I think he's settled into the Scottish Premier League really well. They're coming into the game themselves off the back of 3 defeats, a couple of heavy ones the last couple, but I watched them against Hibs and against Celtic, and I thought they were very, very well organised. And if you give them time and space on the ball, they certainly want to try and play as well. So they're a good side, and I think it looks as if Lawrence Shankland is going to be back tomorrow as well. I know he came on for half an hour last week in the last game, but we are expecting Lawrence to start tomorrow, and I think he's a big player for them, obviously. The result obviously was disappointing. We've lost the game and we've got nothing to show for the effort and the commitment of the players, but there was certainly a lot of positives with regards to the shape of the team and and how difficult we made it for Celtic. And I think Celtic were restricted to a lot of long distance shots, a lot of the saves that Bobby Zlamal made, the free kick from Edouard, the penalty from Edouard. We never really at any time got cut open, which was really pleasing because we've watched Celtic do that to a number of teams in the past. So we take positives from that, but the disappointing thing from our point of view is the goals against. We spoke about not giving away cheap free kicks because we know the quality of delivery that's going to be coming in the box, and they've obviously got a number of players who are very aggressive going and attacking the ball. And as Duffy got 2 and 2, one against Ross County, one against ourselves. So I think to limit Celtic to 2 goals from crosses is a positive, but from our own point of view, we need to defend the box better when it comes in. And I think we've conceded 10 goals up to now, and 6 of them have been from crosses, 2 of them from corners against. So if we can tighten up in that department and do better in terms of defending the box, then we'll certainly give ourselves a better chance of picking up points because they look very solid open play.
Yep, the St Mirren travel to Tannadice this week, and I think it'll be tough for them on their travels to Tannadice. Dundee United are off the back of a couple of hard weeks, 2 4-0 defeats, but St Mirren really could be doing with a positive result just to completely draw the line under what has been an awful 10 days for them.
If they get another referee howler, I fully expect to see Jim Goodwin taking bodies. Because, those last, we spoke about the Hibs game and the Ryan Porteous handball and everything else. The one in the Celtic game in midweek was almost as bad for me.
That wasn't great.
It was, and it kind of goes back to what I said last time round. The referees in this country are abysmal. We're getting to the point now where it's almost every game they're coming away with at least one really big talking point for refereeing, whether it be Ryan Edwards tackling Alfredo Morelos. You've got Willie Collins' an ability to see pretty much anything that goes on in front of him. John Beaton missing a penalty. There's a contentious penalty in Celtic Ross County when Odsonne Edwards seemed to fall down under a stiff breeze. What the hell's going on, man?
I've already told you that we have any Willie Collins slander on this channel.
It's only slander when it's unfair.
Well, aye. But no, I mean, I think he said the quote for him after Wednesday was, "You're probably sick of my whining voice." But he's not. I mean, Jim Goodwin, I think, is a very level-headed manager. He's every right to be complaining about the decisions because they are game-changing. It's at crucial moments in the game as well. The Ryan Porteous one happens, I think, at 1 or 2-0. I mean, if they score that, it's game on. And then against...
Yeah, do you remember Jim as a player?
I do. Sort of.
Right. As a player, Jim was one of... I mean, I say this, and I'd happily say this to Jim. As a player, I hated him. He was just a whiny, horrible, very nasty bastard, really. As a manager, he's the complete opposite. He's everything that he says. He never lets himself kind of jump into things two-footed. He's always quite composed when he speaks. He's always very thoughtful and he's always very respectful when he talks. And I would love to hear his actual opinion on this referee stuff, because as much as he's not been shy and having a moan about it in the last week or so, but you can tell he's holding back.
No, I think obviously he has to. I don't think he wants to get himself in any bother. Dundee United as well, just a quick look at them. 2-4-0 defeats. This game for both games, they could both be doing with points. Mickey Mellon, after 2-4-0 defeats, he needs to try and rally the troops a bit.
He does. This is a really big one for Mickey Mellon because, all right, last weekend, a free hit. Rangers at Ibrox. Yeah, okay, fair dues. The week before, losing to Kilmarnock was a kick in the teeth for them. But they need something this weekend. And really, they need 3 points. I don't think a draw is really a good enough result for them. Which sounds a bit odd given that they're the promoted team, St Mirren are the established Premiership side and what have you. But St Mirren's this they've kind of got that same thing that Hamilton get, where everybody expects them to lose 9 weeks out of 10. And I'm pretty sure that this is a game that Mickey Mellon will have looked at when the fixtures come out, and will have looked at it as being, well, this is a game that we should be winning. So anything short of a win, it's going to really start putting a bit of pressure on them now. And I know it's only early days for them, but back-to-back 4-0s, and then potentially a defeat at home to St Mirren, things are going to start ramping up a bit, and it'll be very, very clear that the honeymoon period's over for them at Tannadice.
There, we mentioned them again. They travel to Kilmarnock, and the big points surrounding this game is Aki's having 3 positive COVID tests, I believe, a few hours before this yesterday. The 3 players that tested positive earlier in the week for COVID-19 have now tested negative, although they are having to self-isolate. I think the Hamilton Accies chairman came out at midweek as well, saying 7 or 8 players could be missing for them this weekend as they travel to Kilmarnock. They're off the back of a good result against Livingston last week, but if they're going to miss 7 or 8 players, then Hamilton's got a very small squad as it is, and they'll find it tough against a Kilmarnock side who have at least shown promise in recent weeks that they can be fairly solid. Yeah,
if the Accies are missing 7 or 8 players, I really worry for them. It could be a right heavy one. If they've not, and they've only got the boys who tested positive and then tested negative, if it's only those 3 who are missing, I kind of fancy them to grab something.
The plastic derby.
Aye, it's a funny one because Kilmarnock have not really impressed me yet.
Was
that Kilmarnock been great? Was that Dundee United been terrible? Was it a mix of both?
Oh, it was definitely that, I think. Kilmarnock have looked good this. Well, they've looked all right.
They've looked,
But they can be quite a handful. I think Kabamba and Brophy up front, once they get going, are decent.
I think that's the thing for me, is that they've looked fairly organised, but they've never taken that kind of extra step yet where... Do you know what it is? You watch them and you get the feeling that they've just got a new manager, and it feels like you're watching it, like Alex Dyer just kind of setting himself. He's just a few games in the door when he's been there just shy of a year now. So it's almost as if that whether they're continually changing things and trying to do different things, or whether his ideas aren't quite getting across, or he's just not got the personnel there to do what he really wants to do. Everything just kind of feels just a little bit out of step so far, and that's a big thing that Kelly really need to get on top of quick.
Right, looking at St Johnstone, Ross County. Thoughts on this one, James?
This is the game that time forgot.
What do you mean? I'm buzzing for seeing Callum Davidson lock on with Stuart Kettlewell for the first time.
It's a really interesting one because on paper most folk are just going to go St Johnstone win. I think County should probably get a really good result out of that.
By the looks of St Johnstone last week against Mull, I think they actually did all right, but it was sort of the case of they did all right until they got to the edge of the box and then couldn't do anything.
And again, to go back to what I was saying about Kilmarnock, that's a team who you can see who, and rightfully, are just making those first steps under a new boss, and you can see that he's just starting to get his ideas across and kind of moving away a little bit with some of the stuff that Tommy Wright done. And there's no reinventing the wheel, but there are slight differences between how Callum Davidson wants his side to do things and how Tommy Wright does. And I just think that looking at how County have played, not even just at the start of this season, but I think at the back end of last season, Kettlewell's got a really good thing going on up there.
No, I quite like him. I think he's a good young manager. He had the co-manager stuff last season, but now he's got full control of the reins. And I know they've not had they had a great start. I think the first 5 were very decent, but I think the gap between 5th, where Ross County are, they're still in the top 6 now, and Mull, who currently sit in 12th, is like 3 points. So it is very tight, but they've started the season with beating the teams around them-ish, give or take a few results. And St Johnstone's another one. I mean, the way they've started the season, there's not much between Ross County and St Johnstone, much like all the other teams in the league. So you'd like to add, I think, a draw, to be honest, in this one. I can see it being a 1-1 chess match type game. But we'll soon see. Looking ahead to the Sunday games, Hibs v Rangers, the immovable object meets the immovable object, I suppose. Open play, Hibs haven't conceded from it yet. Rangers haven't conceded at all. Something will need to give at Easter Road this weekend should either team want to get the win. I fancy Hibs, I really do. I think there's only so much time before Rangers concede a goal. Christian Doidge, Kevin Nisbet, Joe Newell looks really good. I mean, I was at St Mirren Hibs last week, and Hibs look like if they can catch Rangers on the counter, they'll cause them serious problems, especially, I know it wasn't a particularly testing game for Rangers against Lincoln Red Imps, but having played in Europe 72 hours previous as well, Hibs have had 8 days now to prepare for this game. I think they could really cause Rangers some serious issues on Sunday.
I think it's going to be a comfortable win for Rangers. Hibs have started fantastically, and their defensive record has been brilliant. I think they've conceded 3 and 6.
Yeah, they've not conceded a play.
So it is a very solid start to the season. But I struggle to see MD breaking this Rangers defence down just now. I mean, I think there's a stat, and I think it was the Rangers have faced something like 6 shots on goal in their 7 games so far. Which, I mean, it's not simply a case of like the centre backs are doing their job well. It's they're defending really well as a team, and I'm not convinced that Hibs have got what they need to break that down. Hibs are very much a good team that can hit teams in the counter. I think if they get the chance, they've got the talent there, they can get up the pitch very quickly and put defences under pressure. But I struggle to see it this weekend. I think similar to last week when we spoke about Celtic coming back off the international break and blowing teams away, the Rangers have really much got the kind of bit between their teeth just now and really want to push on and keep this record up. And I think it's imperative for Rangers keeping this, because I think once that goal record goes, you'll start to see a little wobble a little bit.
Well, I think it'll go this weekend. There's only so much time they can go without conceding a goal. And Hibs, I mean, is there more emphasis on Hibs to perhaps attack the game a wee bit more with it being at Easter Road? I don't know if that's perhaps as much of a factor without fans. It's not like you're playing to the crowd. So I think it'll be really even. I think if anybody's going to score against this Rangers defence, it will be Hibs, potentially Aberdeen, although it would appear Aberdeen perhaps caught Rangers at a wrong time just with everything that went on at the start of the season. But should be an interesting one. That's a lunchtime kickoff on the Sunday. The two other European teams that were playing this week, Aberdeen and Motherwell, meet at Pittodrie on Sunday. This one, I mean, Aberdeen are in a brilliant form. I don't think anybody wants to be playing them just now, never mind a Motherwell team who are off the back of a physically and mentally exhausting tie in the Europa League.
I can see Motherwell taking a heavy beating here.
Well, that's blunt.
It is. There seems to be something domestically with Motherwell that's just no clicking. And I think the way that Aberdeen are very much riding away from momentum just now. I don't think that on paper that there's a massive amount between the two sides. I think all things being equal, both teams at their best, it would be a very even tie. But I think looking at just how things have gone since the start of the season and looking at their European performances last night, Motherwell are just really lacking in some confidence, and they're not getting that rubbery green that sometimes teams get. And Aberdeen are just now Aberdeen could fall in the dawn and come out with a trout in their mouth.
Well, if I really look at a couple of positives for Mull, I know currently going into this game they're bottom, but the last few games, if you eliminate the Celtic game, which was a free hit anyway, beat Glentoran 5-1, got their first win of the season against St Johnstone, albeit the performance wasn't great, but result that's all that matters. And same again in Coleraine. Performance was, I think their overall performance in the first half was the best they've played all season as an overall package, as I've already said. But I mean, the second,
if you're only doing that 45 minutes, that leaves you another 45 minutes where it can all go to pot, and that's where my worry is for Motherwell just now. They're doing it in fits and starts, but they're not able to do it from first to last. And until Robinson gets on top of that, teams are going to take advantage, and I think that actually plays into Aberdeen's hands. Because I think when you look at how Aberdeen have kind of got their success this season so far, they're not necessarily going out there and just dominating teams. They're taking a few chances when they come, they're picking up things in the break, and they're exploiting mistakes for the opposition rather than forcing mistakes for the opposition. So it kind of just feels a bit like that perfect storm for Motherwell.
I think, I mean, again, it's a bit like the Rangers one. I don't want to be pessimistic for Aberdeen, but there's only so long you can win so many games in the spin. That being said, they have looked very, very good, and they're almost borderline look unstoppable. Now, Ross McCrory's been an absolute revelation. I think they've signed the reincarnation of Zinedine Zidane in the middle of the park. Now, granted, I've never watched Zinedine Zidane play a live game, but from what I've heard, absolutely amazing.
Why do you always make me feel so old?
I've never seen Zinedine's. See when folks say like, "Oh, he's a new Maldini, he's the new Zinedine Zidane." I can't relate to that. From what people older than me tell me, Zinedine Zidane was a brilliant player, and Ross McCrory seems to be looking like that at Tawdry. The big battle might have been in midfield between him and Alan Campbell, who has, I mean, What was Clarence Seedorf like? Is Alan Campbell a bit like that? I never watched Seedorf either. No, I mean, the big battle between...
I'm going to buy you some old videos for your Christmas, mate, and you can watch all these brilliant footballers. Some real footballers. Good God, man.
Anyway, regardless of my age, Alan Campbell, Ross McCrory should have been a decent contest at Pittodrie, but Campbell went off injured in the Coleraine game, and Muller are waiting to see sort of whether that was just a bit of cramp or tiredness, or whether it's an actual some sort of knock that he's picked up, because he's had a really tough few weeks, probably mentally and physically as well. I mean, he scored the winner for Scotland in Lithuania. A lot of travelling involved there. 4 days later, he's playing against St Johnstone, scored the winner on that, 90 minutes. Then he played 105 last night or thereabouts on the Thursday night, 5 days later. So he's played like proper height, and the way he plays, I mean, if you watch Alan Campbell, he is pedal to the metal 100% for however long he's on the park. So eventually that takes its toll. And it was something I did wonder, sort of 70, 75 minutes, whether he's doing well, but the way he plays, you can't play like that. No matter how fit you are, you cannot play like that for, I mean, he's must run 10 to 12k every single week. I think there's a stat after a run of games in February where he'd run 36k in a week between the 3 games. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's done similar, if not more, in the games that he's played, as well as the adrenaline rush and things like that, scoring 2 winners. So hopefully for Mull, he pulls through, because if he picks up any sort of serious injury, then that is a serious blow, because he is the heartbeat of that Mull team. So they'll be hoping he's fit. Aberdeen looking great form, as I said, so that'll be a really interesting one at Pittodrie to see whether Mull can get a decent wee... Would it be a surprise, do you think, Mull going up there just now, given the current form of the 2 sides, and getting a result?
Mm-hmm. I don't even need to think about that. Yeah, that if Motherwell come down the road with 3 points, that will be a shock result. And it feels a bit odd to say that, given that Motherwell finished 3rd last season and whatnot. But it definitely would be a big surprise for me should they come back down the road with 3 points. I just, between the way that Aberdeen are grinding results out and the way that Motherwell just, for every step forward, there's a bit of a half step back. I think a draw is the best that the Steelmen can seriously look at coming down with.
Right, well, got time for in this preview. We hope you have enjoyed. Please do remember to subscribe to the channel and like this video. It is much appreciated. We've had lots of content over the last week, with it being in the Europa League, and we've enjoyed our time here in Northern Ireland covering the game, our first Europa League away game. Hopefully a few more to come. But we'll be back on Monday for another review of the Premiership action over the weekend, shocks, the drama. It's always quiet in Scottish football. We'll have an exclusive interview on the Sunday as well, so keep an eye out for that when it goes live. It'll be announced on our Twitter, which you can go into the bio, follow us on Twitter as well. That's where you get all your first updates for Not the Old Firm news, as well as check out our website for new written content going up there pretty much daily now that we're back full time. Check out our Facebooks as well. We're not as active on that, but we do keep you up to date with all the main talking points on there. But we'll be back over the weekend. Until next time, take it easy.